So I put up on my page a couple of days ago that I was going to go through something I'm going to call the Acl Diaries, and the reason is I want to bring you through basically what the injury looks like, the timeline, the process of prehab, rehab, everything, step by step approach, and make it easier on anyone else who has got an ACL injury or who gets one in the coming months, years, whatever. So what I'm going to go through are dates first. So basically, I'm on week 5 post injury. It's Wednesday today. I have surgery on Friday morning. So that is when my ACL surgery is happening. So the injury happened on the 1st of April 2022. I was at full sprint, turned the dummy with the ball, turned the dummy to go left, turned the dummy left to go right. And as I was going right, I saw a space open up and tried to go around someone and changed my mind last second to go left again while my body was upright. It just wasn't in a good position to turn at the speed I was going at. ACL gone, meniscus tore, major bone contusions and damage done to my MCL. My MCL is still intact. It just was extremely inflamed. And it's nothing that needs surgical intervention. So the surgical intervention really is just my ACL and my meniscus. The contusions will look after themselves. It's just bad bone bruising. Okay, so that happened on the 1st. That was a Friday. The following Thursday, the 7th, I got my MRI. I had my results on the Friday the 8th. Then on the 14th, I was in Sanctuary. So 14 days post injury, I was in Sanctuary getting a consultation. And on the 7th or 6th or 7th, the surgery is going to take place. So again, 5 weeks to the day post injury, my surgery is taking place. Thankfully, there was a bit of pressure to get it kind of sooner rather than later, not to get back earlier or anything. It's just with the field of work I'm in, I do need to get it sorted, I suppose, sooner, seeing as I spend most of my day at work demoing exercises and things. So verbal coaching will have to take over for the next while, but I do need to get back to that, I suppose, as soon as possible. So it is important that I got this looked after pretty soon. Okay, going through the injury. So the first thing is, I'll go through week 1 and what it looked like. I'll go through week 2, week 3, week 4, the progressions. Currently, as I said, I'm on week 5. I'm feeling great again. I feel like when I'm out walking, I feel like I could take off on a sprint and be fine. But obviously, I know if I did, my legs would buckle underneath me. Still, I find the worst thing is when I'm sitting down and stand back up, it feels a bit weird. When I start off exercising, it nearly doesn't feel like my leg. And the main times it actually does feel good is mid-exercise or just straight after exercise, be it on the bike or doing a bit of prehab work or box squats, deadlifting, anything like that. Okay, so to go through the injury, week 1 was pretty shitty. I needed 2 crutches. 10 to 20 degrees flexion was the knee flexion was the most I could get. I couldn't straighten out my knee without pain. And lower body work was definitely a no-go. It was just very, very sensitive even to step on or put pressure on. So I was on 2 crutches for the first week. Second week comes around, I'm down to 1 crutch for the most of the week, maybe 2 crutches for the first half and 1 crutch for the second half. Week 3 comes around, I'm off the crutches, still hobbling around, still weary, still a bit weak. But halfway through week 3, the muscle mass started to kind of appear again as swelling and stuff came down and my legs started to feel good again. Week 4 feels pretty normal, strength coming back, power coming back. Week 5 feel great again. Obviously that's going to take a big downturn this week after surgery. I'll probably be back to square one, feeling pretty immobile for a few weeks. But again, the whole point of this is that we have a timeline to give. Now, I must say, with this timeline, everyone's is going to be different. So I've talked to a good few people who are in the same boat as me, and some of them were on crutches for 6 weeks. Some of them were off crutches the following week. Some of the guys were cycling 2 weeks later. Some of them weren't able to get on a bike for 8 weeks. So again, everyone's is different. So this isn't going to be a one-stop shop, but it might give you a bit of guidance. So, 6 days passed after the injury. I was able to get up on a bike in at work. I usually have the seat at 6 when I'm on an assault bike. I had to put the seat to number 9, and I wrote in my notes. I have my notes in front of me. I did 30 minutes that day, and it was very sore. So I wrote down that day was very sore. That was day 5 or so. Come day 8, I was doing 40 minutes at number 7, and it was uncomfortable is what I wrote. So it wasn't sore, it was more so uncomfortable. So again, seat came down from 9 to 7, and that was in the space of 2 or 3 days. 8 days post-injury, I was able to do bodyweight high box squats. So again, it was about a quarter squat, really. Like, the box was pretty high. It was higher than I usually would. It was not near parallel. But what I focused on is moving within a range of motion that I could feel pain-free and I could still get a bit of stimulus on, which is very important. I could do hamstring bridges, mainly because I couldn't do glute bridges. I couldn't get my heels in under my knees. And the other one I did, the main lift, was rack pulls from a mid-thigh position. Again, towards the last set, I ended up at about top of the knee. But I had to keep it at rack pulls. Any more of a range of motion, and my leg just wasn't able for it. So that was the first week. The first week or two, the goal really is to just try and control the swell and get your range of motion back. That's kind of the things they look for before surgery. Some people, if the swelling comes down or the range of motion is back, they might be sent off on a 6 or 8 or 10 week prehab program just to build some muscle mass around the area, because it's better to go into your surgery obviously with no swelling, greater range of motion, and muscle mass around that area. You recover better. Luckily, that's something I've always looked after, given my job and given my interest in the sport. My leg muscles they were pretty much, as long as the swelling went down and range of motion went down, I probably was ready for surgery by the end of week 3. Nonetheless, we're on week 5 and I'm ready to go. So that's the first week. Second week then, I could introduce hinging with dumbbells, so dumbbell Romanian deadlifts. I could introduce small step-ups on a 20 kg plate. I was down to 1 crutch. I could introduce trap bar deadlifting at 60 kg. And by the end of the week, so 14 days post-injury, and the end of the second week, I could box squat 12 kg, and I could box squat much lower, so to parallel. Again, it felt weak. It felt a little bit not like my own leg, but it was pain-free for the most part. It was just a little bit uncomfortable. I could do leg extensions on the machine, and I could do intervals on a bike. So this was the first time I could get a bit of power on my legs on the bike. So I'd done the bike maybe 4 or 5 times, really slow and steady for 20 to 40 minutes at a time before this. So this day was the first day I could go a minute on easy, minute on moderate, minute on hard for 9 minutes, and I just did 9 minutes at the end of a session, and I felt a bit of power coming back. So that brings us into the third week where I'm off the crutches. This is the week I introduced a little bit more interval style training to get a bit of the power back in the legs. Having talked to physios, they kind of, they were happy enough that I was back on the bike already at that stage, but I suppose the next step was to introduce some work for the quads by doing intervals on the bike. So that's what I brought into that. 18 days post-injury, I was out on the road on a bicycle, pretty much pain-free. The only thing that was painful was getting on and off the bike. But I felt nearly after being out on the bike, your muscles are all fairly warmed up and tight, that it nearly holds your knee in a more comfortable position. This week, week 3, I introduced unilateral work such as staggered stance Romanian deadlifts, staggered stance hip thrusts, or not hip thrusts, glute bridges. I could do assisted split squats, so static lunges while holding onto a pole on one side, and I was able to do weighted marches with my knees driving up. So again, a huge jump in progress from week 2 to week 3. Week 3 was a really big week for me because come week 4, I felt pretty much back to normal. I have here on the 4th week, I was regular deadlifting 110 kg with slow eccentrics, so 3-second eccentrics on each rep. I was able to do hamstring sliders with a greater range of motion, and I was able to do dumbbell split squats come the end of the week, so a weight in each hand and no need for balance. So the way I did progress that was I started off, the first day I did them, I was holding on to a pole, I was split squatting on each side, I was using the pole for a little bit of leverage. Second time then, I held on to the pole and put a weight in one hand and did it. Third time then, I had a weight in one hand and I had the pole there in case I needed to grab it on the odd rep. And then the 4th time I did it, I had a weight in each hand. Again, all same reps, just making it a little bit harder by taking away the leverage of having the pole there. So they were pretty big weeks for me. On week 5 now, I was doing trap bar deadlifts there at the weekend again, up to, I think it was around 120 or so for reps, feeling good. I was doing glute bridges with a barbell on my hip from the ground. I was doing higher step-ups. So the first week I had a 120 kg plate. The last step ups I was doing was a 20, 20 and a 10, and a 10 kg in each hand, and doing 15 steps each side. So again, this is huge progress for me at the time. And I can actually feel the muscles around the legs and my quads working again, and everything is kind of feeling back to pretty much normal before surgery. So the really important thing is that you are keeping active. And it brings me back to this simple kind of point that I was in chatting to one of the clients in the gym, and they had said, you know, like, would you not take this opportunity to rest? You do quite a lot between football, exercise, things like that. There never seems to be a break from exercise. And although that is true, maybe what they don't understand is that, you know, I could train for a month or 2 months in the off season, and it's very, very easy. Like, it's just more of a feel good kind of thing. There's no real intensity to it. Even in the season for weeks on end, I'd have very, very easy sessions. And it's more so about injury prevention at that stage than getting stronger. And I kind of had said to them, you know, it's like, it would remind me of someone now. So let's say those 5 weeks before surgery, the goals are pretty simple if you break it down. Reduce swelling, range of motion, maintain muscle. So in the 5 weeks I've done that. The thing I wouldn't understand is, and what some people do is, they might leave it the 5 weeks and they might say, do you know what, I'll leave it 5 weeks, I'll get my surgery, and then maybe 4 weeks after surgery I'll start to ease back into it. To me, you're looking at possibly somewhere from 9 to 12 weeks there where you're not active, you're not training, and you're nearly putting yourself in a harder position to come back. For me, and with my opinion, I think that to me would remind me of someone who comes into the gym on a Tuesday, wants to sign up and says, do you know what, it's Tuesday, I'll start next Monday. Monday will be perfect for me. It's a new week, I'll start then. They're rarely the people you see come back on the Monday, and that's just the way it is. So in my head, I'm thinking, why wait till after to start? Why not just get straight into it now, preoccupy my mind, and just give myself the best position to recover from this surgery? So be as cardiovascularly fit as I can going into it, carry as much muscle mass as I can going into it, and I suppose maintain my body fat levels, make sure I'm not just putting on a few pounds for the sake of it because I'm injured as well. So all of these things come into play. Breaking up the goals as well is going to be important for anyone. So for me, after Friday, I don't have too many goals. I mean, my first 2 goals are pretty simple. Well, I've got 3 goals after Friday. The first is reduce the swelling. So what can I do to do that? I have a gear here that can wrap around my leg, and it's connected to an ice bucket. That'll do. I'm going to do that every day. Range of motion, increasing your range of motion. That comes with your prehab, which is basically your rehab, which is basically just tensing your quads and bringing your heel towards your bum. I'm going to do that as much as I can throughout the day for the first few weeks. The third is walking pain-free again. Learn to walk with the crutches comfortably, learn to walk with one crutch comfortably, learn to walk without the crutches, step by step by step. So they're my 3 goals. I'm not thinking about running, I'm not thinking about kicking, I'm not thinking about squatting, I'm not thinking about anything like that. My goal is get the swelling down, get my range of motion back, and then move on to the next step. So you have to be realistic with yourself. If I'm coming out of this now and I'm thinking, oh, do you know what, I'm going to run, I can't wait to run my first 5k. Well, that mightn't be for 5 or 6 months. You know, there's a possibility it could be anywhere from 3 to 7 months. So I don't see that as a realistic goal. So they're my first 3 goals. I'm booked in 3 times with the physio who's going to sort me out with my program and my rehabilitation work to do. I'm meeting him 10 days post-surgery, 7 days post that meeting, and 7 days again after that. Then I'm going to meet him once a month for the rest of my rehab until I'm back on the pitch. And these are the things that are more important, is breaking it down to step by step by step. It's a little bit stupid of me to look at the long term without having these little short term goals along the way. So that's going to be the first thing to do. I think I've gone through everything there. I didn't really know what way to format this, because usually these videos have a bit more format to them, whether they're reflections or PowerPoint or whatever. So I just threw out a few notes here, giving you the main points, like injury, 7 days later scan, 7 days later consultation, 3 weeks later surgery. First week, 2 crutches. Second week, 2 crutches and 1 crutch. Third week, 1 crutch and no crutches. Fourth and fifth week, no crutches whatsoever. And surgery on the 5th week. And that's pretty much all I can give you now. In terms of strength, recommend the bike. Swimming was recommended to me, and rowing. Rowing for me is probably a little bit too hard because of my meniscus as well. So whenever I straighten out the knee or go to bend it, there's that pain there. If it was just my ACL, maybe I'd row a little bit more. The other thing that was recommended was swimming. Just given time of work and everything like that, I probably just didn't give the time to go swimming. Swimming is something I'll do after, whenever I'm able to swim post surgery. The bike was really recommended. I would say for anyone who can, as soon as you're getting your range of motion back, get on the bike. It's going to help flush out any inflammation. It's going to help you gain your strength back and keep your cardiovascular fitness up. And when it comes to strength training, everyone's going to be totally different. To maintain muscle is very easy. If you have a big base of it, all you really need to do is keep things ticking over. So those assisted split squats, box squats, Romanian deadlifts, trap bar deadlifts, everything with a high hip hinge, and just focus on staying pain-free in those strength movements, and that'll get you a long way, I believe. That's everything really. That's a run through, and I hope this was helpful. I'll probably get the next video up in probably a month, 3 weeks to a month. I'll see how I am. Maybe I'll be in such a pit of sorrow after this surgery that I won't want to do it, but I think I will. I'm probably going to wait until week 1, week 2. I'll wait until I meet the physio a couple of times, and then I'll come back with a proper timeline, and hopefully it'll be some help. All right.